Continuing with the note on production, as a new heading, factors determining location. Factors determining location. Next line. The following list shows factors affecting the location of the business. Next line 1. Geographic factors dash climate and land terrain. Terrain, T-E-R-R-A-I-N. Next line 2. Availability of raw materials. Availability of raw materials. And supplies. Availability of raw materials and supplies. 3. Next line 3. Availability of infrastructure. Dash power, comma, water, comma, transport, etc. Next line 4. Availability of labor supply. Dash health facilities, comma, level of education. Next line 5. Government support, dash industrial estates, comma, factory shelves and warehousing facilities, comma, common amenities, for example, water, power supply, and telecommunication. Now remember, because this is a video tutorial, you can always pause it at any time and rewind it as well so that you can take your note if I'm calling too fast. So we're moving on. 5. Availability of linkage industries. Availability of linkage industries. Dash the presence of local input, comma, support services such as marketing, etc. Next line 6. The market, dash size and age, comma, income level, comma, and closeness to clients. Closeness to clients. Okay, so we're going to a new page. We're going to take a look at another subheading, which is all in production. So as another subheading, cottage industries. Cottage, C-O-T-T-A-G-E. Cottage industries. Next line. Cottage industry, comma, as the name implies, comma, is a small firm or business that produces a good or a service by using simple technology, full stop. This production was traditionally carried on in the home, full stop. Today, comma, these industries may be found in community centers, comma, parish halls, and small entrepreneurial estates, full stop. Examples of cottage industries are colon, next line, first point, handicraft items, comma, for example, comma, leather craft, comma, knitted items, comma, floral arrangements, comma, making of dolls, comma, knitting and embroidery works, and basketry items. Next line, next point, food items, comma, for example, comma, condiments, comma, pastries, comma, jams and jellies. Next line, next point, personalized services, comma, for example, comma, tailoring, comma, hairdressing, comma, barbering, comma, and sewing. Full stop. Skip a line, features of cottage industries. Next line, first point, small capital is needed, and therefore these businesses usually begin with the investor's savings, full stop. Next line, next point, these firms use simple tools and equipment. These firms use simple tools and equipment. Next line, next point, the profits made are usually plowed back into the business, full stop. Plowed back, P-L-O-U-G-H-E-D, plowed back into the business. Next line, next point, these are usually one-person businesses, comma, partnerships, or very small family businesses. Skip a line. Cottage industries are important because they, colon, next line, first point, provide employment next line, next point, satisfy a psychological need. So I'll repeat that. Satisfy a psychological need of the producer of the good or service. Next line, next point. Add income to the family's budget. Next line, next point. Provide the opportunity to use one's skills. Next line, next point. Provide an opportunity to use one's spare time to increase income and provide self-gratification. Next line, next point. Use local materials. Next line, next point. Improve the skill base of the human resources, since techniques are passed on from generation to generation. Next line, next point. Can earn foreign exchange for the country, since trade shows can be mounted at which producers exhibit their wares. Skip a line. In order for cottage industry to provide opportunities for employment, comma, the following factors must be considered. Next line, first point. Materials for use in these industries. Materials for use in these industries must be easily available. Next line, next point. There must be training programs to pass on the skills required. Next line, next point. The financial support must be available through loans with very low interest rates. Next line, next point. Trade shows must be mounted so the producers can exhibit their wares. Okay, so we're moving on. We're moving on to another topic that is associated with production that is important. So you skip a few lines or you go to a new page. The small firm. Next line, characteristics of small businesses. Characteristics of small businesses. Next line, first point. Small capital, dash, usually less than $250,000. Next line, next point. Small sales turnover. Small sales turnover. Next line, next point. 1 to 20 employees, dash, this may be fewer depending on the industry. Next line, next point. Simple technology, dash, usually manual labor. Next line, next point. Occupying small land space. Skip a line. The role and functions of small firms. The role and functions of small firms. Next line, first point. To provide personal services. Next line, next point. To respond to customers' requests quickly. Next line, next point. To act as the middleman and thus as a source of information. Next line, next point. To collectively form the backbone of the economy, since these firms, next line 1, provide employment for many persons. Next line 2, may eventually become medium and large businesses. Full stop. Next line, next point. To help in the redistribution of income Next line, next point. Enhance the skills of the population. Next line, next point. To increase national income and economic growth. Skip a line, survival of small firms. Next line, small firms continue to survive due to the following. Colon. Next line 1. Small firms provide personal services. Next line 2. Small firms provide goods and services for a local area located in convenient areas. Next line 3. Or next point. Small firm can cater for the niche market. Niche, N-I-C-H-E, niche market. For example, jewelry and leather craft items. Next line, next point. Small firms provide specially engineered goods. Next line, next point. Small firms are easier to manage. Next line, next point. People may work harder because they enjoy their job. Next line, next point. Small firms tend to be more labor intensive and thus reduce unemployment. Skip a line. Growth of small firms. Next line. When a small firm grows, this growth has a significant effect on the following colon. Next line, first point. Organizational structure. Next line, next point, capital. Next line, next point, labor. Next line, next point, scale of production. In brackets, economies of scale. Next line, next point, use of technology. Next line, next point, potential for export. Okay, so we'll stop there for today. Hopefully we will just have one more session for taking notes to complete the topic on production. Until then, remember that you can always pause the video at any time or rewind it to make sure that you get all the notes when you feel that I am calling a little too fast. Okay? So until next time.